So you two fucking bet. He's crying and Mike Malone.
All right. I think we have a few people in here, so we're rolling in. Again, cheers to who's in here. Moises. After 15 games of the league, when we can see first, we have always draw or loss. We have always, this time we won, but it wasn't pretty. Why are we always starting to play when we concede and not before? The $1 million question. There are no updates on Pulisic so far. If I have updates on Pulisic, I'll give them, or it's not that I get them or report them. It's just basically out of my control with that. All right. Absolutely, uneventful kind of game today, huh, guys? I mean, good God, right? Like, how many times do we have to go through this as fans to see that this team only starts playing the second that they go from behind? Just an incredibly frustrating sort of team. Again, I'll get into everything in terms of the play. When it comes to Milan's, I don't know, quality today would be the best word to describe it, or lack thereof quality. But in general, this is just a good result for Milan, and there's nothing else that you can take away from it, in my opinion. I just very, very frustrating. If you caught yesterday's episode before today's season, what I said was, and Sant'Angelo once again getting the final score correct, so kudos to Sant'Angelo again. And guess what? I also said that we would score 2 goals in the second half after a first half draw. For me, with Milan, this is really just about grinding out results now. This isn't anything to do with how they play. I think the damage is pretty much done with how this team is in terms of style. Because even if Conceição comes in, it will take some time to get into that sort of rhythm of which he wants to play with. But ultimately, these players are still the same. They can't change those players. And for me, there's just quite a few on this side. I won't get into it today on who I think should stay or shouldn't stay. But for me, you cannot come out like this week in, week out and expect to get back into the top 4. Again, Milan do what they're supposed to do and get their win against an inferior side. And there's nothing left to say outside of that. It's just the 3 points, and you want it. Matt has said the same thing. I agree with him basically on every single podcast, is that it actually doesn't matter anymore about the style. Where Milan are at this point in the season, we're halfway through now. I think that was their 19th match. They still have the other one against Bologna. So it's still officially halfway through the Serie A season. The campaign is about this. Milan needs to do everything within their power to just grind out wins, and nothing else matters. If you're worried about style right now, you should go back and rewind yourself to August, or just look forward to next season. Because right now, you are not going to see phenomenal play. You're just going to see a lot of scratching and clawing and fighting just to get 3 points. And today was no different. And it's really difficult, I would say, for some of the players, and especially Sergio, because of these fixtures and the quick turnaround. And this is why I always bring it up in every possible episode, is that, look, when you're playing almost every 3 to 4 days and you have a lot of ground to make up within Serie A, all these wins become that much more important. Because if you get off to a great start at the start of the year, obviously, you're going to put yourself into a fantastic position in terms of rotating and resting at this point of the season. Milan don't have that luxury. Now with Pulisic and Chukwueze both out on the right wing, Milan are going to have some question marks there. They don't have a ton in terms of midfield usage. Benacer still coming back, looking shaky. Couple good moments, and then largely subpar, but whatever. We'll get to him whenever he can get back into shape. I'm not really going to harp on him too much. Reinders and Fofana, how many matches can they play before their legs fall off? I thought Reinders was really poor today. You could argue it was one of his worst matches all season. So that was disappointing from him. Fofana, very, very, very mediocre when it came to his performance as well. And again, but those guys play every single match. So for me, I kind of have a hard time harping on them. I would say I'm more disappointed when it comes to standards, by the way, in which Theo played for most of this game, and then Mike Maignan. Again, both of them just with this concession on these goals, it's just you can't do that. You cannot do that. And I really think they're both phenomenal. They're both top 5 in their position when they are consistent. I think Mike's had a much better season. There's no denying that with Theo Hernandez. But my Theo Hernandez problem on a full frontal level is that we need him to be one of the best left backs in the world every single week. He did not show that in the first half of the season. I don't care who the manager was. I don't care what the problems were. If he's on the pitch, he has to play. He has to step up. And Teo is so good. He is so quality on the ball and easily, in my opinion, the best offensive left back in the world. However, we don't get that often this season and especially last year. And when we're not getting that, you see a lot of the defensive issues start to get magnified. And when those get magnified, Milan start to drop points. They were the reason. He was part of the reason why they were losing today. Okay. And this is to just be objective about it. And he's done better in 2025, not denying that. Definitely stepping up. But what we need is 90 minutes of Teo Hernandez, not 45 minutes, not to scratch and claw to get out a win like this. He scored the goal to make up for it. Fine with me as far as things go for this match. Consider it even. But to me, you have to do better, man. You have to do better. I just, in general, and I hope to not see those sort of mistakes. And then again, to go to Mike Maignan with this, Maignan on that near post, it's sort of like he has the yips. It's like every single time someone shoots near there, he's scared and it goes in. I mean, that's a hell of a finish by Como. I'm not surprised that Como are sort of in this position. But again, guys, like, come on. It's avoidable. If something is avoidable, you get upset about it. Just like I said yesterday's episode, when Zappa and Dybala score wonder goals, you're sort of like tipping your cap to them. You're like, okay, that's incredible. Sometimes you just can't do anything in regards to that. But the stuff that you can control and the things that you could be good at, Theo has been failing in largely on the defensive side. He's stepping up offensively, but sorry, I have standards for the guy that's supposed to be the best left back in the world. Simple. You have to have higher standards, and at least today he showed up on the offensive side of things because the defense was still lacking. And again, I'll get to some of the points. Rafael Leao, for me, man of the match. I don't even think this is a question at this point. I mean, the chances he created in that first half were great. Reinders' finish on that chance was just brutal. It was brutal. And Leao set him up perfectly. Great ball carrying ability once again. He gets the game-winning goal in this. I mean, just there's not much left to say when it comes to Rafa. Sure, was he poor against Cagliari? Absolutely, Leao was not that good against Cagliari. But guess what? He stepped up today. He was the best player on the pitch. He won Milan the game. They collected 3 points because of him. And they should have had it wrapped up earlier. It was a really nice pass by Tammy Abraham, I have to say. With Tammy, it really was a good goal. A good assist with that. So again, I didn't even get to the flop of the match. And the flop of the match is usually who's been the flop of the match the entire season, guys? Emerson Royal. And honestly, Jimenez could be thrown into this, but Royal started this one. For me, what Emerson Royal did today, I just like people get fired for those types of performances. Like it's happening too often. Dude, we saw the graphic, right, by IFTV of all the strikers that Milan have signed within the past half decade. Emerson Royal, transfer fee-wise, costs more than all of them. So it's really frustrating to me how Emerson Royal does this. Mats Milan, don't do that. Don't mess around like that and say Royal was man of the match. Hello, Menez. Menez, I think you made a good point on Twitter today about Jimenez because I want to get into sort of him. So like with Jimenez, absolutely everything he did today was youthful mistakes. And that's something I can live with, not in that game specifically because we were behind a really good team. But in general, it was kind of frustrating, right? Because you see Tammy get angry at him, lay the ball off to me. The same one when Reinders and Tammy were also in the box. Jimenez had very much a tunnel vision there. Definitely didn't get off great enough looks. I know you never said he was a bad player. Jimenez is not a bad player. That's not what you said. But in those moments, he was selfish, and it's pretty obvious because his teammates got angry at him too for it. And everybody didn't really come in here to do anything to kind of like make me feel better about the situation. There are a couple questions in here. I don't want to ignore everybody. Jack Armstrong asks, who would you actually buy? Coyote of Fiorentina, I think, is solid enough and good enough to transition to Milan. Thiago Santos is another guy. I would even play Jimenez more. Again, I've said I would welcome Kyle Walker if it's a short-term 1.5-year deal, right? 6 months this year, 1 year next year. And then, fill in the void there. Florenzi and Calabria are both going to be off the books. Those are players who are expiring. I'd sell Royale to the moon. Like, they're frustrating. They're not good enough players. I would say pretty much every single one that we have. I'd argue right now on paper, if everyone was healthy, Florenzi is my starting right back. And I'm not even second guessing it. Striker position today as well. I mean, listen, Tammy stepped up. He got a goal contribution off the bench. Really hard to kind of criticize a player like that. When someone is coming off the bench and scoring like he did, that makes me feel a lot better. So, Pulisic's severity of the injury, there are no updates just yet. I haven't seen any. If someone sees something from Antonio Vitiello, please feel free to share it in the chat. But Pulisic, he got hit in the calf, the lower leg. But when the trainers came over, Pulisic was clutching onto, I believe, his left thigh underneath. So most of the time, that's hamstring. Your quad muscle is on top of your leg. So if you were to injure it, he would have been motioning to that, but it looked like he was motioning to his hamstring. I have no updates on that as of right now. We're going to have to wait and stay tuned. Cutrone's evolution with the ball technically at his feet has been great. He was not close to that at Milan. I like Cutrone. I'm so happy for him. He's clearly very much a Serie A player at this point, but yeah. Wait 1 second. Yes, Morata suspended. We only have one left back, only 3 wingers. We have more wingers. They're just injured right now. Romero, there's no replacing Romero, Brian. Calm down, brother. Look at Romero. He's a nobody in this team. You can't replace anybody. You get what I'm saying? It's like saying, oh, why didn't we replace the trash bin? Bro, it's a trash bin. Like what? Like, there's nothing to replace. Just get another one. It's non-existent. Thank you for the compliment on the jacket. Very nice throwback of Adidas. Thank you. Yeah, of course. We are the kings of the preseason. No, it doesn't really hurt us too much. Hey, guys, here's what the good news is, right? We get the 3 points here. Atalanta Juve play right now. Somebody could drop points. Disgraceful that Silvano Voss isn't our starter and that Jimenez isn't our right back. Guys, we don't even know if Voss is good. The word on the street is that he's struggling with the Futuro team. If he's struggling in Serie C, guys, they have to make the evaluation. We can't call it embarrassing if the guy isn't good enough. You know what I mean? Get angry at not getting a proven player, not the guy. Here we go. And again, I think a lot of people, by the way, dude, I'm not even going to say his name, Menes. He doesn't even deserve the recognition. Either he's like the world's best troll or he's just the biggest idiot. I'm inclined to think the latter. Yeah, okay, Brian, like no disrespect, what your opinion is of him isn't what the management thinks and what the coach thinks. You could think he's like talented. I'm not denying that, but like, you know, if he's struggling in Serie C and Ajax, which is an incredible institution, decided to let him leave, like, you know, do I think Rashford is off now that Okafor deals is off? I don't know. There's no telling. I don't have that sort of information. I'm not that sort of insider. So unfortunately, I can't say anything. So just guys, give me a second to drink some water, please. It's like 16 straight minutes. I'm out of water. That's good. Anyways, so much dust in my room. What the fuck? Anyways, here we go. I don't know if they're going all in for Walker. I wouldn't even. We do need Rashford. Nah, Joey, it would have been a one game that Morata scores a fucking goal. Yeah, the spirit. Hope Juve drop points rather. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I rather Juve drop the points. If you had to choose a team other than Milan to win the Scudetto, who would it be? Atalanta. It hurt. It hurt a lot to say that, Menace. Inter go and win. They have 21-19. Napoli win. They're just incredibly obnoxious fans sometimes. And they had just won. I was happy for them when they did win. Don't get me wrong. So them winning again is kind of like, for me, Atalanta winning the Scudetto, I feel like that's sort of a coronation for what they have been building for about a decade now. I know winning Europa League is kind of similar to that, but what they have done, man, I mean, it would be incredible. And some of the players on that team too are sort of outcasts for bigger sides. Like no one went in on Retegui out of all the big clubs. No one kind of wanted to pay out for Scamacca, pay for CDK. David, technically we still have a game in hand because we didn't make up the Bologna match. So we're still going to be behind, everybody. So yeah. For me, yeah, no. I did Moji call out Fofana. That was earlier in the live. For me, Fofana, like his legs are falling off. It was a really poor performance. I don't think a single midfielder in this team put in a good performance. Put it this way: 3 midfielders, right? The strikers, the striker Morata, 3 midfielders, striker Morata, and Royale, all bad. Chow as well, I would say, kind of mid performance. That yellow was a poorly timed tackle. Pretty difficult. So, dude, Gmax, I don't know. You're gonna think I'm crazy too. Well, you're not gonna think I'm crazy because you said it. I 100% get where you're coming from with that. I don't even deny it. Like they can absolutely, like they're there. That is like where they're at. That is their level. Like they can honestly on their day they could beat anybody in a knockout game. But outside of that, bro. What do I want in a long term? Okay, so again, this has been something that we've done videos on here on the channel. And if you're new, thanks for stopping by. Here's what I think. So there's two ways to look at it, right? What is the realistic thing that's going to happen and what Milan could do? And what is the thing I desire most? The thing I desire we'll go with what's the most realistic one. So out of the most realistic options for striker, I don't even like all the options that are realistic. That's a really good one. Yeah, I'll just go just go with the one that I want most. That's Benjamin Sesko. All day, every day. That was the guy. That was supposed to be the guy. Not getting him to me is just silly. From a perspective of you have no financial fair play restrictions. You don't have um any leeway. And again, I say this about the striker all the time. And and this is what annoys me most about it. And I said it about Isak isn't so like I would take Isak if I didn't have any restrictions, right? Like I would take a boatload of them, but we do. So we have to kind of get creative with it. Unfortunately, this season, guys, I'll be honest with you, I haven't been able to watch that much outside of Milan and a couple of other big teams in Serie A. Get very busy with work. I work a lot of weekend days, so sometimes I have the humility to at least say, um, like I don't watch enough to comment. The players I do watch and can comment on, sure, but yeah, no, John, 100%. I said it should have happened a while ago. Because Milan are in that sort of position. They're not one of the top clubs that they could pay up for a guy or a top guy anytime they want. They have to get him before he explodes. But you also can't be buying one that's incredibly risky, like going oh, here's Marco Lasadic. You get where I'm coming from here? Like Milan are either buying way too soon and can't properly develop that striker, or they're in buying too late. And buying too late could mean a few things. One, not have the money to pay for someone like Sesko, or they do not purchase players below the age of like 30. I mean, Morata coming in, Giroud, Zlatan, you know, at a certain point, you're sort of like, all right, bro, what are we doing here? How are we able to actually get in this window? And my other point was sort of like, and again, there could be other really talented strikers out there. I just haven't seen enough of some, and unfortunately, I can't comment on that. Out of any new ones, impossible, Rob. The amount of money that he's asking. So, okay, well, let's see if we have anything. Sorry, I'm just trying to find updates, guys. You guys can keep chatting. And Timo, brother, how are you? Of course, that's why I was saying, like, realistic, not realistic. I mean, who knows? Could be could be someone from Portugal that Conceição knows. Okay, we have a couple of comments here. Sergio Conceição. So let's get into some of the comments by the manager. This is from Antonio Vitiello, so everything is translated from him. Could we get Luke de Jong for a year? Brother, just get Ibra back in there. Okay, Conceição. We need to be more solid as a team. It's not good. If you don't concede goals, then with the quality we have an attack, you score, but we need to be more solid. In terms of play, we can still do a lot. I want more intensity. There's a lot of work to do. Yeah, basically like we all knew. Um, yeah, so there's also like an expanded comment with this that says there's a lot to bring out in these lads. I can talk for 2 hours, but if they don't get certain things into their heads, it's difficult. I haven't been a fan of Reinders Fofana. Reinders is just, I can excuse Reinders to have a few bad performances, sorry. As far as Fofana, that's like it's so tough because I try and be critical of some of these guys, but those two genuinely have been run into the ground. It's really tough for them. It's really tough. Like Kevin Zeroli, Voss, like guys, I don't know. David, I don't think they would get influenced by anybody because this is also a team or a club, excuse me, that couldn't get influenced by Paolo Maldini, who had the best interests of the club. Like if Mendes comes in, Mendes is a money guy, You get what I'm saying? Like Mendes is all about the Benjamins. It's about spending, about putting up. We should not try for Dusan Vlahovic. Vlahovic gets paid astronomical money. And screw him, by the way, because he had his opportunity to join years ago, and he wasn't agreeing to that. He took more money to go to Juve. Then go to Juve, bro. And I understand the offer's higher, but no. Vlahovic is like someone else can take Vlahovic. Yeah, no, Darwin Núñez is not coming, especially if they just rejected 70. So yeah, good luck with that. Michael Edwards is he's arguably the best director in the world, so good luck. Domestic trophies. Menace being rude. Hey, we have a shot at the Coppa Italia. So what's funny about Angelo? What's funny about your comment? Chances Moncada gets the sack. The chances are Moncada just leaves. He didn't sign an extension. His contract expires in June. Tells you all that. Yeah, Demo, I was saying that on the last episode, or maybe the one prior to that, where I give a rundown like, okay, game every 3 days or so. And I believe maybe the last match that you're possibly referring to, I think would be against Inter. Real quick. Where are we going here? So we have Juve on Saturday. Wednesday, we have Girona in the Champions League. Sunday, the 26th is Parma. Wednesday, the 29th. Then we go to the 5th. The 9th, basically to February 9th. Yeah. Empoli. Good call. Jeez. I'm shot. Yeah. Bruh. I think the only positives that we could say is that we get the really difficult games in the first half of the second half out of the way. Like the first part of the second half of the season is the best thing for us. Is that very difficult, yes, fixture-wise, but it'll get easier over the course of the season because we get Inter Roma, difficult. Roma, Juve out of the way. Even Lazio is done by, March 2nd. Why would we play Roma for a third time? What is Roma? Oh, that's Coppa Italia Roma. Excuse me, on February 5th. Roma's the second to last game of the season. We play Monza the last. We need to buy somebody. There's no denying that. We'll see if someone like Bondo comes through. What is realistic success as of today? Coppa Italia winner / finalist, top 4. And knockout of the UCL. Yeah. Would I get Jonathan David in the summer? Maybe if his agent isn't a psychopath and he doesn't demand a high wage, sure. I would take Jonathan David. But the odds of that happening are not high. And nobody should have faith in this management. No one should have faith in this ownership. Money coming in from Saudi. Players' wages off the books in Calabria and Florenzi. Money coming in for CDK, Yassine Adli, Pierre Kalulu, just to name a few players. If you make top 4 again, you get money for making the Champions League. What are they doing with that? What do you think of this? I have not seen any reports about Sartori being lined up. Trincao, I don't know too much about. Yeah, Rob, but he wants too much money. Jonathan David wants too much money, and Milan are not going to play that game. They haven't played that game with anybody. since Redbird took over. They're just not going to. They're just not, man. And I'm not the one to like constantly attack these guys. I don't know. Are we not limited on the player list? We are limited. Yes, Demo. Non-EU, we are limited for January. I believe they can only bring in one on the non-EU. We'll see with that. Ooh, sorry. I really like to yawn. Don't you think they've learned from Thuram? No. Look at how they work, man. Rob, like the Xerxes incident or whatever transfer, they didn't learn from them. I know he struggled at United, but a lot of people struggle at United. And I didn't necessarily want Xerxes, but they haven't learned yet, right? Like they don't learn until we see them do it. These guys deserve zero benefit of the doubt when it comes to them pushing all their chips to the, not all their chips, them pushing chips to the center of the table. And I know that's supposed to mean all in, but just put a big pile towards something because everything in life is a risk. So the way I look at Milan and the way they do business, right? And I think a good amount of you can understand this analogy. There are a lot of people out there in the real world who are scared to go outside because of a fear of death, right? And with that, they don't take risks. They don't do things in fear of that. The reality is you could have anything bad happen to you anywhere. You could fall in your home, you could get hurt, God forbid all this stuff, right? All that could happen anywhere, anytime. Any player you buy could backfire. You could spend 10 million on a player, he could flop. You spend 25 million on a player, doesn't work out. We've seen players that they buy for 35 million, doesn't work out. Same goes for a player worth 70 million. And the funny thing is, as much as the cost is for a 70 million euro player, the odds that he's likely to succeed and be successful are relatively high. And this whole notion and idea that, and this is not what any of the supporters thinks, but this is what management ultimately falls on, is that, and they've commented on it for Lonnie and company, you assume a big risk when you do that. Guys, there's a risk. There's risk always. There's always risk. No matter what you do. At a certain point, you have to swing. You have to go for something. Because this treadmill of Milan that they're on, where they're constantly staying in place, of fluctuating between good and poor performances, it's about vision. It's about ambition. It's like they don't even have a carrot dangling in front of their face to go and grab on the treadmill. They got nothing. They're not even going for it. They're just like they're happy to be on the walk. To me, I do not see where anything progresses in this project by the way they operate. And the way they operate is frugal, half-assing Moneyball. And again, I will have to make a video on what the difference is on Moneyball. It's silly. We have a better English translation of what Conceição has said, so I'll get to that. Conceição to Sky. What's there to get out of this team? A lot in terms of play. We've made a comeback in 3 games. There's character. We can improve physically, tactically, technically, and in terms of attitude. I can talk for 2 hours, but if the players don't get it into their heads, it's difficult. We also have several players with muscular problems. We're evaluating everything that was done before my arrival. We need to have more pressing with more intensity. There's a lot of work to be done. Simple. So yeah. You need confirmation if If you would need any company to buy Milan, who would you like? Bro, I don't know. A company to buy Milan, bro. Thank you, Angelo, for understanding that. Baseball fan. Who's your team? If it's not the Mets, it's okay. Just don't be a Braves fan or a Phillies fan. Otherwise, you're good. And if so, it's fine. Keeping aside the striker, do you think Ricky? I have been at the table for Samuel Ricky. To me, that player, again, not the perfect defensive midfielder, but he would be what we hope Benacer is. And I don't know if Benacer is returning, guys. I really want Benacer to be back to what he was. But if I have to keep waiting for somebody like that, a Middle Eastern prince with the country's finances. Of course, yeah, because everyone likes to generalize. For me, it's just like I don't mind the way I don't I don't completely hate the ideology of Redbird. Like the overall idea of like let's be smart about things, right? Like their idea is to be smart, but in practice it's not. I would like a more competent and ambitious Redbird. Like a Redbird, and I know people might call me insane for this, and I don't think it'll ultimately happen. But I think Redbird still, at the end of the day, does have potential to do something, and I think that's why everyone gets so angry because they have the money, they've created all this. Their ideology on the market to sell players for a surplus and then bring in more is not a bad idea. However, they did it with the wrong player. Tonali is the guy like you don't sell. Would have rather the goalkeeper. For me, it's sort of like if you look at like Liverpool, for example, there was a graphic out there of like how much money they spend relative to the other Premier League teams. Sure, in the entire scope of European football, Liverpool spent a shit ton of money. There's no denying that. That's the power of the Premier League. But however, relative to the Premier League, Liverpool don't spend as much as some of the top dogs do. So what they do is have incredible scouting. Their managerial hire was one of the best managerial hires of the past 20 years. Jurgen Klopp to Liverpool was such a smashing fucking hit. Hey, King. Yes, crazy match. And again, it's sort of frustrating as someone on this side of the world who knows a lot about Moneyball and a lot about how algorithms work in terms of like building your team. It's applied poorly in practice. They're not doing it right. They're just not doing it right. They don't know what they're doing. And again, the hierarchy is so bad. Correct, Game Central. They do not have the right people in place, which is why I think Moncada is likely gone. Jerry, we'll say this about Jerry, right? I don't think he's scared to fire anybody. Now, who he hires is the bigger issue. To me, it's not about like Moncada as a scout, sure. Totally fine by that. For me, it's Moncada as a director. Does Moncada know how to build a team? Moncada likes this player, that player. Moncada likes a lot of players. A good amount of them end up being good. However, what is the idea with the team building? There's the right back position where you're sitting there saying, Emerson Royale, what are we doing? We liked your link to Thiago Santos, but then you go for Royale. Maldini and Massara were tasked with making the final decisions, on top of liking the players that they liked. But when Moncada has the final say, it's very different when you're the one calling the shots as opposed to helping somebody, right? Like, there's plenty of Milan content creators out there, for example, that have phenomenal takes. And they're right about a good amount of things. But it's very different when you're in that position. It's very different. You could second guess yourself. You could also learn that you might not have as much money as you would have wanted. There's a lot of things that kind of go into that. And Moncada, and from people I talk to familiar with the club, and I just can't say more than that, basically said, like, when you're thrown into a position like he was, where Maldini's sacked in June and like you have to scramble to find a replacement. And what is your ideology? What's the thought process heading into the summer? What can we do to build this team? What's our clear vision? They didn't have that. There was no vision there to say, okay, we're moving forward in this direction. We're moving forward to bring in these players that are really good. Redbird is like a 250 hitter in baseball. They're hitting like 25% of the time, maybe 30. But that's not good enough with the money that they have. There's a lot more misses than hits. Maldini, Masada, way more hits than misses. And even the misses were small. The misses for Milan are pretty big. Pavlovic and Royale cost a pretty chunk of change for what this budget's been. Okay? Morata the same. So we got like 14 million for Morata, 20-something million for Pavlovic, and then Emerson Royale was like 15. You're exceeding 50 million for 3 players that are only one of them has put in a respectable-ish season, but even then, I think when you're the striker for AC Milan, someone like Morata has failed. His job is to score. Simple. I appreciate what he does off the ball. I appreciate some of his link-up play. No. I want you to score goals. I want you to score. If you can't score, I don't know what you're doing here. Especially if you're my main guy. We can't keep doing this. Because then it costs you like all these matches that Milan have like dropped points in and like were lost were very winnable. And they're probably more winnable with a striker. Cagliari, for a perfect example of this. You could have gotten 3 points. You dropped 2 points there. Other games, Parma, I know they messed up. There's a whole long list. All those points are going to cost you a lot of money. It just is. Winning brings you the most money. There's no denying that. Real Madrid, why do they have so much money? Because they win all the time. Because they keep going for it. They understand it. Understandably so, different situation, but they adapted much better than Milan did over the years. Milan were like at the top of the ladder next to Real Madrid and got kicked all the way down. And they're trying to climb their way out of it. And it's been a roller coaster. They climbed up a significant amount, got knocked down a few pegs. And this is where we are today. Fastest growing team, sure, but finances, sure, fun, all fun. 55 million to San Donato to try and get new stadio. Looks like that's gone too. How much money is going to be invested where you don't succeed? How much money does that cost you? Not making the Champions League cost Milan everything for years. The inability to get back. For certain generations, for a few years, people found them to be kind of not even like a talking point. I wouldn't say irrelevant because Milan's always Milan, but there's levels to this stuff. Yes, Rob, your comment was great. Yeah, on one of my videos. Exactly. Say like not in a perfect world, we get all 11 points back. But to Rob's great point here, if you get 7 back, right? So 7 points here on this table. Say Milan have 7 more points. They have 38 points. They're sitting in 4th with a game to play. That's just 7 from teams 11 through 20. 0-0 Atalanta Juve, by the way. So to me, I find it very embarrassing as to how they're operating. But that's that. Milan got 3 points. So we'll take that. We'll go into the weekend. They face Juve. Juve played today, right now, against Atalanta 0-0. Guys, I appreciate you so much. Check out yesterday's episode with Sant'Angelo. We accurately got the score right. Brian, thank you for your comments. Everyone, thank you all for your comments. Like, subscribe to the channel. Why is Jovic not getting a chance on top of being injured? Just not good enough. He's on his way out. Monaco is the latest rumor. But we appreciate all your support. We're on Apple and Spotify. again at that Milan podcast. Go and check us out on all those platforms as well. Again, just subscribe here. This is where we do all of our content post matches. I try and do them as much as I can. I just appreciate all you guys. It's always a lot of fun. This platform, this medium is a lot better and more fun for me and Matt, because the others are just a little too toxic. But yeah, we really appreciate all you guys. We love the community that is being built up here. Again, go and follow all those other great English speaking content creating people in regards to Milan. English, Spanish. I know our Spanish speaking Milanisti out there are saying, hey, come and check us out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I have nothing left to add. Enjoy your guys' day and take care.